Star Wars aesthetic is really elusive. I mean, the simple answer is that it's George, and it's Ralph McQuarrie, and it's Joe Johnston, but that's only part of it. Star Wars aesthetic is also grounded very much in the 70s and 80s, and it's also in the era in terms of where George was when he was making those movies, in terms of the materials and the designs that he was influenced by. And so it's all of those things. And it's a really tricky one, because if it was a simple answer, if there were certain guidelines or formulas that we would have, our jobs would be so much easier. But it's not that, because it's very elusive. Well, when I work with new designers for Star Wars, it's interesting because their first instinct is to draw like cool spaceships and monsters and stuff like that. And that's not what we want. No, if you actually look at Star Wars as a historical film, as a period piece, that's where it is, and that's where you have to ground everything in reality, and you have to do a lot of research. You have to be almost like an archaeologist, and you go back into the textbooks, find things in human culture that are really exotic, that are interesting, and then you update it. So it's really more about sort of history delving and updating things and twisting it a little bit. And granted, yes, we are designing spaceships, we are designing creatures, but that's a piece of it.
The attractive part about the Star Wars aesthetic is that we're sort of coming into this world, and it's been around for years and decades and thousands of years possibly. And so you're entering this world where people jump into a spaceship like we do a car. It's not a big deal. There's not a big fly around and, hey, look at all this cool stuff. It's just like, hey, I'm getting in my speeder and I'm going.
From a story point, you're mixing in an ancient religion with spaceships. And that sort of, to me, like courses through the entire nervous system of that property.
If you look at a Star Wars film, if you look at a shot, it's very simple. Iconic shapes, triangles, spheres, rectangles. You could block something out with 3 shapes.
Japanese films, the car culture of Southern California in the 1960s, basically even old B-movie films like Flash Gordon, much earlier times, all those things, Metropolis, everything has an influence on Star Wars.
Just have Ralph McQuarrie paintings up on your monitor, or print them out, put them up all over your room, your office, have them on your desk, have those things out as reference. I mean, that's the Bible.
What was Ralph McQuarrie inspired by? He was inspired by World War II and Vietnam technology. A kind of clunky, used, very real, not a wall of esoteric interface, but a real thing, a knob that you could go up and pull and push and punch into, and a grungy world you could live in. And that I think is a huge part of the Star Wars aesthetic, and a huge part of what we're looking for is something that's relatable.
The really simple cliche is that, Star Wars is very iconic. Simple shapes, simple idea.
Studying, copy, pasting, tracing compositions, from the McQuarrie paintings, I think have been the closest I've come to recreate the style. So I think it's quite difficult, especially for outsiders, to do that. And we've been to the archive, and I've studied the paintings, like I said, traced the paintings, copy composition. It does help. And all of that, I think, over time, makes me better at it. But do I have a straight answer, what is a Star Wars aesthetic? I don't think I do.